To our webinar. My name's Dr. Steve Simpson, and I'm an elite performance coach, and I'm speaking with you today from beside the Thames in central London. It's 6 o'clock in the evening local time here. It's been a sunny, warm afternoon, and thousands of people are heading home. Looking forward to the evening. So thank you for joining the webinar, and we're going to be talking about luck. There's a surprise. I talk also a lot about success, but and for reasons that I'll explain, luck is an easier concept for people to get their arms around. And I'll start with a tip right now, which is going to help me in this webinar and hopefully help you as well. And that is, one thing that lucky people do is they ask questions. Now, not just any kind of questions, not the safe kind of questions that are very sensible and the teacher would say, yeah, well done. These are the kind of questions that think, I can't possibly ask that, or I haven't got a clue how to put into words what I'm feeling at the moment or what it is that I want. Those are the kind of questions that I like to see. So please, throughout this webinar, feel free. In fact, I encourage you to send me in the questions, because I can talk about 1,000 things, and you know, you might only be interested in one of those or even none of them. But if you just give me a clue as to what interests you, then we are much more likely, in fact, almost certain, to hit the target. So I see people are joining all the time. So just to repeat, please fire in your questions. I obviously have some things up my sleeve I'm going to start talking about right now, but I would much prefer to have your questions so that we can make the most out of it. Now, right, here we go. Luck. I didn't really think about luck until about 2.5 years ago. I guess in the back of my mind, I've considered myself a lucky person, and I have. In fact, I probably guiltily feel that I've had a lot more luck than I deserve, particularly when I look around the world and I see the stuff that's going on, and all the people for who luck, sadly, at the moment, seems to be deserting them. But I got lucky. It started back in January 2014, and I was talking to a live audience then, but in person rather than across the ether. And usually I start talking about things that people can relate to quite easily, like health, wealth, and happiness. And that will normally kick us off and keep us going for 2 hours or 2 days or indeed a whole week. I never do any training for more than a week. I can't keep my focus and attention going for that long. But for some reason, as I was doing my intro back in January 2014, I asked a question of the audience that I hadn't asked myself. And I said, now look, you know, this is the new year, or it's our new year. How about if you could be luckier this year? And the atmosphere in the room just changed instantly. And I was lost for words, and everybody else was, but I could notice that people were leaning forward in their chairs. And I knew that there was something about that one word that had resonated with people. Now, it wouldn't have been in their conscious mind. It would have been in their reptilian brain, or what we call the unconscious. So, and as it happened, I was finishing that seminar and rushing off to the airport, because I was flying out to Edinburgh, where one of my clients, a professional poker player, was playing in a very important 5-day tournament. And I certainly carried some luck with me, because the player did very well. In fact, after a pretty, well, by her standards, a poor 2013, January is going well for her, and she actually came second in that tournament and, of course, won a lot of money. But more importantly, probably in the long term, is that she gained a lot of confidence. And confidence is a subject that also comes up very regularly with my clients, and I'm often asked questions about confidence. And it's been a big one for me, actually, because it took me completely by surprise. But back in about 2010, I was just started making audio books, and I think I was publishing a whole batch of them at once on iTunes, probably about 4 or 5. A couple of them were about golf, one was about sport, and I think there was one on general personal development, and it was called Zen Hypnosis Confidence. And the publishers, they wanted all of the other ones without a question. Well, they had lots of questions actually, and they wanted to make little changes, and I was very cooperative to them. So I agreed with everything, but they didn't really like this last one, Zen Hypnosis Confidence. They said, well, it's a very clunky title. And I said, well, I agree with you. It is clunky, but I can't think of a better way. I mean, it is about Zen, because Zen is a philosophy that permeates a lot of my thinking, whatever you want to call Zen. I mean, throughout all the philosophers that I've studied over, the 2,000, 3,000 years, Zen principles are up there somewhere. Hypnosis, well, I am a hypnotist, and a lot of people don't know what hypnosis is, and I'm one of them as well. I don't know what it is. I can't give you rational explanations for it, but I know that hypnosis surrounds us, and actually we're all hypnotists, and we're definitely all exposed to hypnotic messages every single day. And there was this word, confidence. That was the third word of the title, and something resonated in that title, even though the publishers were reluctant to publish it, because in 2010, and carrying on for quite a long time after that, it was #1 in the iTunes charts in the whole of Europe, in any category. So there were blockbuster authors that my little audio book was outselling. It sold in the thousands. Now, you might find this hard to believe, but I haven't actually listened to it since then. But I do get, even to this day, I get lots of emails from people telling me how it has really helped them, and emails from people of all ages, including kids who've listened to it when they've been in trouble, disadvantaged kids, let's just put it like that. So there's something in there that has worked for a lot of people. Now, it's not on iTunes anymore, and again, for some strange reason, I took almost all my titles off iTunes a couple of years ago. But it is on my website, and I will mention that towards the end of the video, because I do have a special offer related to that one. So there's something a little bit magical about this word confidence. And as I said, it crops up so often in my work with clients. And by the way, here's another reminder, folks. I haven't had a question yet. It's okay. I've still got plenty to talk about. Confidence we can talk about for a whole day, but I can assure you we're not going to. The maximum amount of time we have today is about 30 minutes. I figured that would be long enough, but I'm getting, these webinars are very new to me. By the way, I plan to hold them every week, and they're going to be today is a Thursday, but in future they're going to be on a Thursday. I think that seems to suit most people more easily. So please do check and come along and sign in. I'll always try to remember to include a special offer as a little prize for showing up. And that's another thing, by the way, showing up. I haven't finished with the confidence, by the way. I will come back to that. But in my book, which I have somewhere, this is why I talk about luck. I mean, I even wrote a book about it. It took me that 2 years to talk about it. Get Lucky Now. It is available on Amazon. But anyway, I'm not here to sell the book today. But in the book, I talk about the 7 secrets of successful people, of lucky people. And these are the things that people throughout the ages who've been successful, these are things that they've done. And when you look at 6 of those secrets, they're pretty logical. But then very often we don't do things that are logical, do we? And so the book is a reminder of the things that work for people, which is why I say categorically, I start off most of my presentations by saying, I am convinced that luck is not random, that we do not live in a random universe. And with part of that statement, I'm in good company, because I've just found out that Einstein thought that as well. He believed in what's called determinism. He thought that every single thought and action was somehow a product of nature and predetermined. I've done a couple of videos on that, by the way. I do have a web page. I do have lots of videos on YouTube. They're all free at the moment, on all kinds of topics. So bound to be something there for you to have a look at if you can't think of anything better to do on a rainy day. And so luck is, that's why I say luck is not random, because 6 of these reasons are logical. The 7th reason is where we really get into the woo-woo stuff, as somebody told me, and that is what I call magic. My definition of magic being things that we can't currently explain. That doesn't mean to say that they're not true, or it doesn't mean to say they're true either. But they're things that, at least in my life and in my work with clients, these are the things that have propelled people not just to the next level, but at least to the next level above that. So back to confidence. It comes up very often with my clients. I work with sports people at the top level. I work with actors and other creative people and bankers and ordinary people like you maybe, and like I certainly am. And what people say to me is, I look around and I see all these other people who are so confident, and I'm not. I worry about things you wouldn't believe, the kind of stuff that I worry about, and I'm nodding my head, because what I'm really saying is I would believe, because guess what? I worry about stupid stuff sometimes as well, but nowhere near as much as I used to. And I say to them, now look, those people that you're looking at, they may look really confident. It just means they're possibly a better actor than you are. But deep inside, they're probably going to be looking at you and thinking the same thing. In fact, there's probably only one bunch of people who are truly confident on the outside and on the inside, and they're the psychopaths, or people who are approaching being psychopaths. And I don't think any of us want to be like that. Because if we were truly confident, we'd make a lot of pretty bad mistakes. So if we're getting a bit of disquiet about something, it's normally a message from the unconscious brain to have a little think about something. There's something out of kilter. And so people say, well, how can you make me more confident? And my answer to that question, probably about a year ago, and indeed I was interviewed live on Sky TV and ITV for that matter, because I often get asked for my opinions about sports. They think, don't ask me why, but I get asked. And I had very little notice for this interview on Sky, which was live. In fact, they were so desperate to speak to me that they sent the outside broadcast unit round to my house. So we did the interview outside my house, which didn't please the neighbours very much because they couldn't get their cars out. So that tells me that the other reason there was probably the kind of people that they usually phone were, this was January, they're probably off all on a skiing holiday. And I just happened to be around on a Sunday when everybody else was doing something different. So I didn't have much time to prepare, and they were asking me about the England cricket team who had lost 5-0 to Australia. Well, that's happened several times throughout history, quite a lot actually. But in England, where we take our cricket quite seriously, you would think that somebody had died. But as far as I was aware, there was no blood on the cricket pitch and nobody had died. But I guessed, and I'd obviously watched some of the matches, it seemed to me that for some reason or other, there was a crisis of confidence in the England camp. So I thought, well, I could start off the interview like that. And keeping things simple as you have to when you've only got a few minutes, I thought I'd talk about posture. Because if you're worried about something, sitting outside the office waiting for this tough interview or to see your boss for your annual appraisal, you'll probably find the default state is you're kind of going to slump a little bit and you're going to bring your shoulders in and you know, bring your knees together. You see, what you're doing is actually you're adopting a protective posture. You're expecting somebody to give you a shellacking, whatever that is. President Obama used that word. Sounds good, but it probably means slapping you across the face or shouting at you or something. But if you try and look like people do on TV, who are doing this stuff all the time, they will be sitting upright, they will be engaging with their eyes, and they will have their arms out a little bit and their legs apart a little bit. So they're actually looking big, and they're looking big in the camera frame. And this is a way that we can fool our physiology, because it's what, you know, models say, we fake it till we're making it. And this is not rocket science. So this is nothing, you know, that you can't do right now. If you've got that interview right now, or in the next few minutes, or tomorrow, or next week, you can pull your shoulders back. Anyway, this is what I was going to say, and I got it all prepared. Well, that was as much as I'd prepared. And the interviewer was a lady called Lorna Dunkley, and she came straight in. I could hear in my earpiece, you know, the rest of the news, and then the segue, the introduction to me. And she said, "Right, Dr. Simpson, if you were in charge of the England cricket team, what would you do? Would you tell them to pull their shoulders back?" And my mouth opened and nothing came out, because actually she had said exactly what I was going to do. So once I got my brain thinking again, I said, well, you're absolutely right. That is what I would say. And I gave them a few more examples, and I gave them a few examples of how I saw England players, you know, trudging around the cricket field, very much like the England footballers usually trudge around the football pitch when they're expecting, you know, when they're told to take a penalty, because we're not very good at penalties. I think we're improving a bit now, but certainly we've been knocked out of plenty of big competitions because we can't get the ball in the net, even when there's only just the goalkeeper left to beat. Anyway, easy for me to say that. I don't have to do it. So there's one trick about confidence. And by the way, I'm just going to repeat, please do fire me a question. I've still got I'll carry on with the confidence thing for a few more minutes, and then I'll tell you about what the special offer is. Another thing that we can do, and in fact, sometimes I'm often asked, if you could just give one tip to people, what would it be? And this is often the one. I mean, I come up with something different every time, but this is very often the one. And I'd say, never say a bad thing about yourself ever again. And people look a bit, what do you mean by that? I mean exactly what I say. Don't say a bad thing about yourself. And they might say, well, I'm not too happy about that. So I say, well, why? And they'll say, well, if I make a mistake, it's important to be honest with myself, because I definitely don't want to make that mistake again. And I say, yeah, that's right. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't use that language. I wouldn't call it a mistake. I would call it a learning. People who don't make mistakes, or if things don't always go right for people, if things always go right for people, then they don't learn. And I tell my clients, and they find this hard to believe at the time, but we learn more when we're coaching together when things go wrong, because those are the things that we can put right. When somebody is playing out of their skin, I mean, what can I say? I say, well, congratulations, wonderful. What was different today? And they'll usually say something pretty much the same. Their eyes will go a little bit dreamy, and they'll say, whoa, hard to put my finger on it, Steve, but I don't know. Seemed like I just got out of my way today, or I just let stuff happen. Well, I try and look surprised, but of course I'm not, because that is it. That is one of the secrets of success. It's in the book somewhere. If you really want to perform at your best level, you're not going to do it by willpower. You're not going to do it by furrowing your brows. You'll do it by relaxing. And the good teachers know that. They know that if they start shouting at kids, as they used to do in my school, and apparently it still goes on, you're not going to bring out the best in anybody. And it's the same in the workplace. If you take an aggressive or bullying approach with your staff, they're not going to feel empowered and relaxed to produce their best performance. And so this is the way that we should treat ourselves. I'd like to think we all treat other people like that, but we need to apply the same rules to ourselves. And that's why I don't recommend saying anything bad about yourself. Now, a couple of little caveats here. Our unconscious mind, which is vastly more important than our conscious mind, knows when things haven't gone as well as they should have done. So the learning is there. If we hardwire that feelings of failure, you see, if we put something into words, even if they're our internal dialogue, the voice in our head, I really messed up, we are recruiting several more million brain cells to do that. And so then that sort of emotion of failure and frustration is going to be reinforced and is going to stay there and echo when we're in the same kind of situation again. Now, that's the danger of being self-critical, the main danger. There are others, but that's one of them. So that's why when people ask me for my one tip, that would often be what it is. So I think that's probably enough about confidence. There's loads more we can say, but we probably don't need to, because if you do those two things, then you are going to be more confident. Now, you see, I'm remembering how I started this little segue, this little loop, and that was, this is how I would have asked the question a year ago. So how would I answer that question now? I'd still say the same things, but I would add something. This is a new perspective that I have on confidence. I don't know whether I'm right or not, but it seems to help people when I explain it to them. I would say, to be more confident, my friend, you don't need to do anything different, because all the confidence you need is inside you. The problem you're having at the moment is you don't know where your confidence is hiding, but it is there, and we know that. So we can find it. You can find it on your own, or we will find it together. Because the default state for a human being is to be confident. You won't find evidence of that when you look at adults, but if you have doubts about it, look at children. Look at children when they're that right age. They're not too young. Their brain is developing enough for them to understand what's going on around them, and they're not too old that other people have started getting to them. By other people, I mean their peers, or probably the kids are just a little bit older, parents, authority figures. Because when they're in that delightful age of having no ego, they just assume that they are good at everything they do. And that, not that they really care what other people think, but they believe that other people know that they're good at what they do as well. So that's why it's a natural state. So getting back to the person who comes to see me, who is having a confidence crisis of some degree or other, I would say, now let's see what's getting in the way of your natural confidence. And we will find out what is it in their life that is making them anxious. What is out of kilter in their life? Because there will be something. And then when we start to look at that, and as I said, it really could be anything. When we start looking at that and start putting some strategies in place, and the simpler the better, as always, then the confidence returns, because it has only been hiding. It's always going to be there. So I'm going to wrap up our meeting now, but I did say there was an offer for you, and I mentioned my Zen Hypnosis Confidence audiobook, which is no longer on iTunes for various reasons. It's only published on my website. The short name for my website is getluckynow.me. getluckynow.me. It's very easy to remember. And if you go to, I think there's a tab for books, and then one of the drop-down menus will be digital books or audio books, something like that. And on that page, you'll see Zen Hypnosis. And it is $4.99, and there's a little button you can press, and it's all automatic. It'll be delivered to you as an MP3 file. But when you press that button, you'll see a little empty box which says promo code. And if you put in the numbers there, 50, what will happen is that it won't be $4.99. You'll get a 50% discount. So there you are. That means that it's going to cost you about $2.49, which in England will not buy you a cup of coffee. And as I've said, that audiobook has helped thousands of people. So that's a little prize, if you wish it, for turning up today. I mentioned turning up before, didn't I? And yeah, because it's one of the things that I say to people when they say, give me a simple tip for getting lucky. I say, turn up. Just turn up. What do you mean by that? Put yourself in the game. Lots of people, you'd be surprised how many people have some brilliant ideas and things they want to do, and they don't do it because something stops them. Put yourself in the game. They have this picture, they're not going to be good enough. You will be, trust me. Just do it, because it doesn't matter how good you are. You're going to enjoy it, and you're going to get something from it. So thank you very much for coming along. As I say, the next one will, in future, these are going to be every Thursday, and I'll keep on doing them as long as people keep turning up. Please send me feedback so that I can continue to get better, hopefully. Remember what I said earlier. So until the next time, may you attract more luck into your life, but be very careful. Luck is infectious. It will affect those people around you and give them some luck too. So careful who you share it with. Only joking. You should share it with everybody. The world needs it. Okay. Goodbye. See you next time.